Today we're taking a closer look at the front, upper, and lower control arms with ball joints and sway bar links for the 2005 to 2015 four-wheel drive Tacomas. If your front end feels sloppy or loose, this 6-piece kit is a powerful way to restore the precision and stability in the steering and handling. This comprehensive kit is going to replace all the suspension components that are the most prone to wear, both the upper and the lower control arms, complete with ball joints, and the front sway bar end links. Designed as a direct fit replacement, everything bolts into the factory mounting points, straight out of the box with no mods needed. Steel components are treated with a corrosion-resistant coating to stand up to that salt, mud, and road grime over time. All the parts even arrive pre-greased, saving you additional maintenance. Perfect for tackling that sloppy steering, vibration, or alignment issues. And all at the cost far lower than the OEM parts. This kit is built using high quality stamped steel and dense rubber mounting components for durability and long-term performance. The arms and the links are all assembled with ball joints for smooth movement and minimal slop, replicating or even improving on that factory functionality. Now, as far as pricing goes on this, it's coming in right in that mid $400 price range. And at that price point, that's a great value for a full control arm and sway bar link kit when compared to purchasing parts individually or paying those higher OEM prices. Now, when it comes to the installation here, it's going to be rated a full 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and you can have this installed in just 2 hours of your time if everything goes really smooth. Certain steps like properly aligning the ball joints or handling the sway bar links require precision and patience for the best results. Now let's head on out to the shop, and we're going to give you a detailed walkthrough of exactly how this install process goes.
For this install, you'll need various impacts, a ratchet, an 18 and a 19 millimeter wrench, a 10, a 12, a 16, 17, and an 18 millimeter socket, various 19 millimeter sockets, a 24 millimeter socket, a ball joint puller, various hammers, various pry bars, and a clip trim removal tool. Also not shown on screen is a pole jack. Today we're going to be installing upper control arms, sway bar end links, and lower control arms. Let's get into it. So first we're going to be removing the lower strut bolt, and for that you're going to need a 19 millimeter wrench, a 19 millimeter socket, and an impact. So now that the nut's removed and the bolt's completely loose, I'm going to put a little bit of pressure under the lower control arm just so we can slide that bolt out. And to do this, I'm going to be using a pole jack. You can use whatever you want to push up on this so that we can pull that bolt out. And once you have that pulled out, you can go ahead and just have a little bit of pressure under that control arm. You don't have to crank it down because we got the bolt out. Now that we've done that, we can go ahead and remove these 2 bolts down there. And to remove that, you're going to need a 19 millimeter socket with an impact. And then we're going to go ahead and remove these bolts holding the control arm in. Now, you will need an alignment after this, and the best advice that I can give you is I would take a picture of how these looked before and match it up the best way you can when you go ahead and install these. And to remove these, we're going to be using a 19 millimeter socket with an impact for this side, and for this side, we're going to use the same 19 millimeter socket and an impact, but we're going to use a 19 millimeter wrench as well. We can go ahead and pull this one all the way out like that, and then we can work our way over to this one over here. So that we have that out, then go ahead and pull this one out, and then go ahead and with this last one, you're going to want to make sure you're supporting it so it doesn't come crashing down. Pull it all the way out like that, and then we'll lower our jack. And you'll be good to pull it out, just like that. Now we're at the front, and the first thing we're gonna do is disconnect the sway link. So to do that, you're gonna need a 17mm socket and a ratchet. Then once you get this pulled out, you wanna make sure you do the same thing on the other side, because we want to try and get this sway bar out of the way. We'll move this out of the way once we get more stuff taken apart. Then we wanna remove this clip. Like that. Set that aside. Then we're going to take a 19mm socket and an impact, and we're going to loosen this just a little bit. We're going to leave that there just like that. Then we're going to take a hammer. You want to whack the crap out of this so that it separates. Just like that. And then you're gonna get a 12mm socket and a ratchet, and we're gonna loosen and remove this bolt right here. You wanna pull off this bracket. And so you don't lose track of this bolt, you can just put it in like that. Then you're gonna wanna get a pair of cutters. We wanna cut this cotter pin off up here. We want to push it out. And we're going to loosen this nut with a 19mm socket and an impact. Once we get it to this point, you're going to want to whack right here with a hammer. Then we can take out our nut. After that, you're going to remove the upper control arm nut. Set that aside, and then if we have the clearance, we want to flip the sway bar over. After that, we're going to take a 19mm socket, an impact, and a 19mm wrench, and we're going to loosen and remove the lower strut bolt. And just be careful, because once we remove that bolt, the control arm is going to come down a lot more. Then we're going to take a 14mm wrench and loosen these 3 bolts up here. Second thought, I'm going to use a 14mm socket and a ratchet, because these are really on there. Now that we have those bolts off, or sorry, the nuts off, we can pull out our strut. Then we're going to take a clip removal tool. We want to remove these clips. We want to do the same thing on the other side. Then you're going to take a flathead screwdriver and a hammer. We want to place it on this clip right here, and we're just going to tap it lightly. And if you put your hand behind here, you'll feel a harness. You just want to push that back a little bit. Then we're going to take some channel locks. We want to place them right here. We're just going to bend this back. Next, we're going to take a 10mm socket and a ratchet and remove this bolt right here. Also remove this bracket. Then you're going to want to take a 19mm socket, 19mm wrench, socket extension, and an impact, and we're going to remove this through bolt right here. you have some clearancing issues, just take a pry bar and we can make some more room. Next, we're going to transfer this piece to the new control arm. And to take this off, we're going to be using a ball joint puller. Now you can use other options, like you can use a pickle fork, but we don't want to ruin the boot on this one. So we're going to use a ball joint puller. And to do that, I'm going to be using a 16mm socket with an impact. So to get ready, we're going to remove these two nuts right here. This is the new control arm, this is the old one. I'm going to put this ball joint puller on the old control arm so we can pull this bracket right here. And we just transfer this piece over to the new one. Put that on there so it stays on there. Our next step is we're going to be loosely putting in the hardware up here so we can get the control arm hanging a little bit. We're just going to thread them on by hand. So the piece that looks like this goes up here. So we'll put our control arm up there, like so. Then we're going to take this bolt, put it through here. Now I would recommend putting some anti-seize on there. We already had some on ours from when we took it off, but you're just going to want to make sure to put that on there before we put it on the car. Next, you can go ahead and grab this piece. We'll put it on here like this. Put our washer with our nut on the back. Thread that one on there, nice and tight. Put this bolt through here. And then lastly, for the bolts, you can thread this in there like that. And then we're going to go ahead and install these two bolts right here. Again, we're going to thread them in loosely. So we're going to pull this up, pull this back so it slides in there like that. We can go ahead and line up our holes. Might have to push down on this a little bit to get it where you need. Once we have those threaded in there, we can go ahead and grab a pole jack or any jack, and we can apply some pressure under this. Now we're going to grab our bolt, our washer, and our nut for the lower shock mount, and we're going to line it up and loosely thread it on. So you might have to lower your control arm just a little bit till we get it lined up. Put it in, and directly behind the bolt, you're going to want to loosely thread this on. And then we can release our jack and set that aside. Now that we have all the hardware loosely on there, we can go ahead and tighten everything down. So first, I'm going to start with these two bolts right here. For that, we're going to use a 19mm socket with an impact. And then we're going to use a 24mm socket on an impact, and we're going to tighten down the ball joint nut. We want to make sure that we line up one of these little cutouts right here with the hole, because once we have that tightened down, we're gonna go ahead and grab a cotter pin and we're going to stick it through. And this is the supplied cotter pin that comes with the kit. Put it through, then you can go ahead and bend that back. You can actually take your 24mm socket and bend it down like that. Now we're gonna take a 19mm wrench, a 19mm socket, and an impact, and we're gonna tighten down this bolt right here. Now it's time to tighten down this hardware for the lower control arm. You're gonna need a 19mm socket, a impact, and a 19mm wrench. Just be mindful of where you had your markings. So mine were about there. You can go ahead and tighten it down. But again, like I said, you will need an alignment after this. So I can go ahead and move to this one and tighten that down. Now that we have our lower control arm installed, we can go ahead and reinstall our lower skid plate. Remember, you're gonna have 4 bolts to install. We only have 3 on this truck. And to install them, you're gonna need a 12mm socket with an impact. For this next step, we're gonna install the upper control arm. So to make this process a lot easier, we're gonna be installing it differently than what Toyota did. So we're gonna pull this out. We're going to put the control arm here. We're gonna be using the washers that came off of the old one, and we're gonna put them on this. So I'm gonna put the washer like that on the bolt. Then we can go ahead and reinstall our bolt. Then once you get it to this point, we're gonna hit it with a hammer the rest of the way on. Be careful of your brake lines right here. Then when we start to see some thread poking out, just gonna give it a little bit more of a tap. We're gonna take our other washer and put it right here like this. Just like so. And we want to make sure we don't hit it all the way on just yet so we can get our nut right there. Now we're going to make sure that we hit it just enough so we have some threads to put our nut on. And once we get that on, we can start tightening it down. To tighten it down, we're going to be using a 19mm swivel socket, an impact, and a 19mm wrench. Once we've done that, we can go ahead and put our upper ball joint on the knuckle. We'll take our supplied nut, put it on there. Next, we're going to be tightening this down, and if you look, it has little notches there. There's going to be a hole that goes through the ball joint that we need to line this up with. So if I just take a quick look, the hole is right here. So we're going to tighten this down with a 19mm swivel socket and an impact. Just want to make sure that we get it lined up. Just like that. Then we can reuse our clip from the old ball joint. You're just going to want to find the hole. Once you find it in the hole, put it in and push it up just like that. After that, we're going to take a 10mm socket and a ratchet, and we're going to reinstall this bolt and tighten it down. Now we're going to install the sway links. So to do that, we're going to need a 19mm socket, a ratchet, and an 18mm wrench. So you're going to notice that the threads are different. So the longer thread's going to go on the top, the smaller thread's going to go on the bottom. Just like that. Then we're going to take the supplied nuts. We're going to hand start them. And once we've started them, we'll take our wrench and our ratchet, we'll tighten them down. So you're gonna place the wrench right behind the end link, like so. We're gonna tighten it down. Now we can go ahead and reinstall all the clips. So the clips for the harness, they just click right back in, like so. And then we're gonna take this cover, we're gonna clip it into there, this hole right here, here, and here. And then we're gonna do the same thing with this side. Clip it in here, 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 and there. Alrighty, that about wraps up this review and install of the front, upper, and lower control arms with ball joints and sway bar links for a 2005 to 2015 four-wheel drive Tacoma. Thanks for watching. Remember, for all things Tacoma, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.